Alright fellas, Daniel Dubois has just pulled out of his fight against Joseph Parker at the last minute. In what was meant to be a fight to set the tone for the future of the heavyweight division is no more. Dubois is out and a replacement opponent for Parker is in. With so much going on at the moment, we gotta get to the bottom of what's actually going on. And who is Parker now fighting? But just quickly, if you love boxing, don't worry, I've got you covered. My name's Cloister and I make videos on everything boxing, so to stay informed on the latest, make sure to subscribe. So I woke up like an hour ago to endless notifications talking about how Dubois is now out of the Parker fight. Only a few hours earlier, I released a new video talking about the fight, basically saying how Parker's the heavyweight division's boogeyman, and it was kind of surprising that Dubois took the fight in the first place. That video now is no more, down to the news that's coming out of Saudi Arabia that Daniel Dubois was being checked by a doctor and has been pulled out of the fight because of illness. The illness at the time of making this video is unknown, but this isn't even the first time on this card this has happened. Only a few days ago, another major clash was shaken up with Floyd Schofield being pulled out of the fight by the British Boxing Board of Control due to illness. In a similar sort of incident to Dubois, Schofield had a last-minute pullout due to a mystery illness. In the case of Schofield, there was a lot of varying stories of what the truth actually was, with this being mainly fueled by him looking fine the day before, and the talk from the Shakur camp in the lead-up believing they would find an excuse to get out of the fight. No matter what you think about the situation, Schofield was sick enough to end up in hospital, with the promoters fighting Shakur a new opponent in British fighter Josh Padley. But that's what we're used to, a fighter pulls out last minute, and the replacement fighter not being top elite level competition. Usually they're a name which most of us don't know and reside outside of the top 10 in the rankings. A great example outside of this card was only a few weeks ago with Goodman pulling out the Inouye match and Kim stepping in. That's an example of the number one mandatory pulling out. Instead of finding a worthy opponent, they find a guy whose nickname is Packyweather. But that's what usually happens, they get an easier fight to make up for the small amount of time they have left to prepare. What we almost never see is an elite fighter who wasn't meant to fight step in on a couple days notice off the couch to take on a fight. Because if you're a fighter near the top, what are you doing taking a chance at the last minute instead of waiting your inevitable turn? Yet that's where the madman Bakole steps in. When it was first announced that Dubois was out, it seemed like there was a list of usual mid-tier names, and it would be a punching bag put there for Parker to get an easy win against. There were also rumours of the likes of Chisora flying into the last minute to fill the gap, but the fight we ended up with surprised us the most, with Bakole stepping in to fill the void. Now just before we get into has Bakole even been in training and what this matchup could actually look like, it's undeniable that this Bakole Parker bout is a pretty exciting fight on one of the most exciting cards of the year. Labelled by some as fight card of the century, you just don't want to miss any of the fights on this mega card, with the main event of course being the rematch between Bivol and Beterbiev. All of this is worldwide on DAZN, the global home of boxing. So to ensure you don't miss out, click the link in the description and secure your pay-per-view now, and also get a free 7-day free trial of DAZN. Now in talking to different people and different accounts I've seen online, Bakole of course hasn't been in a full camp. He was in line for a fight in a few months time against F.A. Ajagba on the card which was going to feature Ryan Garcia vs Rolly. But that was still months away and he wasn't deep in a camp yet for that fight. Other than Bakole accepting the fight, what is also massively surprising to me is Parker accepting the fight. Usually a fighter would be entitled to duck a hard opponent who they hadn't been planning for if their opponent pulls out days before the bout is set to happen. But Parker has happily accepted the biggest challenge offered to him. It does make me think though, why has Parker accepted this last minute bout so happily? One, of course, could be the money. But the other side is Parker thinks this could be not that tough of a fight. The two are familiar with each other, having previously sparred. Obviously, Parker sees something in Bakole which has made him okay with taking the fight. I reckon the Parker camp is looking and thinking Bakole is borderline just an easier Dubois. Although both Dubois and Bakole rely on power punching approaches, there are key differences between the two. While Bakole is a raw, explosive fighter known for his high KO rate and sheer physicality, Dubois has evolved into a more refined, technically sound aggressor. Dubois still pressures his opponents and throws heavy shots, but he uses smarter footwork, a bit better defensive movement, and a more polished boxing IQ. So although the basic game plans might seem similar at a glance, Dubois' style is more nuanced than Bakole's straightforward power approach. Parker over his last few fights has basically only fought heavy power punches. It's nothing new to him. Wilder was one of the most threatening power punchers in the world, then Parker stopped all his hype. Big Bang Zhang was also a power puncher rolling in with great momentum, and then Parker outboxed him. Is Bakole just destined to be another one on the list? Well, I would say probably yeah, and to understand this we need to go back a bit. Bakole has a lot of hype around him at the moment, but you can't forget his one loss, which was against Michael Hunter. Hunter was a cruiserweight moving up and gave Bakole a lot of trouble, down to his countering and movement. Bakole after this bout rebuilt against mostly journeymen and then regained his hype after defeating prospect Jared Anderson. Joseph Parker is no Anderson and is unlikely to play into Bakole's game. This time round, you'll have a Bakole who hasn't been through a camp against a Parker who's been preparing for one of the biggest fights of his life. This fight will be entertaining regardless though, because Bakole will bring it all. If Bakole does land a punch, Parker could be in a world of trouble. But I find it hard to go against Parker, who'll be coming in sharp, looking to outbox Bakole, and probably will go on the jog till Bakole is tired and then finish the job. Yet imagine, if Bakole comes in and wins it, it would be an amazing story, and would shoot his profile and hype into the stratosphere. This fight though is a must watch, simply because how interesting this matchup is, and the story behind it. I'm just happy truthfully that we didn't get some journeyman matchup and we still have a fight between some of the biggest names in the division. It will also shake up what could happen next. Will Dubois go straight to an Usyk matchup? Will the winner of this fight have to fight Dubois? Or will the winner of this fight go straight to an Usyk matchup? It's all in the air, but we'll have a better idea post-fight. All I know is I kinda doubt that an undisputed match is going to take place this year for the heavyweight division. We might not even see one again in the near future. Yet now I want to hear what you think. What do you think of the pullout, Bakole stepping in, and how do you see this fight going? Let me know all your thoughts and predictions down below. Remember also, you don't want to miss this fight or any of the fights on this massive card. You don't want to be rushing to your computer trying to buy the pay-per-view late and missing half the fights, so secure the pay-per-view early with the link down in the description. If you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing, it does a ton to help the channel. But thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.